Hi everyone, it's Heidi from flutterbyheidi.co.uk and I'm Heidi Smith. I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator based in the United Kingdom, and I've recently been asked to join the Inspire Create design team, which is really lovely, run by some friends of mine, and it's got some really talented ladies, so it is lovely to be joining in with them. And one of the things that they do is every 2 weeks they set a challenge, and that can be anything from a sketch to a colour challenge to 3D or anything like that. And what we do is the design team creates some projects based on the challenge, and then you're invited to join in as well. It's a really great way of challenging yourself to do something a little bit different, and sometimes when your mojo's gone, it's good to have somebody say, make something with this. So this week's colour challenge, or this fortnight, the one for this fortnight, is these 4 colours here. So it's some of the in colours, so Magenta Madness, Misty Moonlight and Just Jade, which will be going soon. Just a reminder, the change of timing of these will disappear when the new catalogue comes out on the 1st of May, and we'll have 5 new in colours. But what I would say is they will go quicker than that. So if you love these colours, if you want the refills or anything like that, get your order in now rather than later. The other colour we're using is Crushed Curry. Great one to use. Obviously, if you've got all the in colours, you could use Bumblebee. But if you're joining with the challenge, it's Crushed Curry. And this is the card I came up with. You know me, do love a fun fold. And I've been playing with Flowering Rainboots. And I've seen a display recently where they were beautifully bright and cheery. So I've just made this lovely diagonal joy fold. So just a variation. And what I've done here, hopefully you can see, those boots are really glossy. So I'm going to show you how you can get your own glossy boots, and those are in fact Misty Moonlight, but with the gloss on the top, it just changed them and they become slightly sort of grayer, but I just thought it was great fun. Love these tulips, of course, and this sentiment, you know, every storm that comes also ends, I think is a great one if you need to send a message to someone who's having a tough time. So this is the stamp set, Flowering Rain boots, Wellington boots in the UK. Great one for gardeners in your life, or you just with the flowers it's worth it, but with these Wellingtons, the watering can things, fabulous, and some great sentiments. And we've got some dies that go with that as well. So I'll be using those. We've got dies to cut out all the images. We've got this lovely trellis as well, which cuts out, as you can see there, and you've got this extra little like hand fork. It's not actually it must be a sort of whatever it is, like a little hand rake, and a little seed packet as well. And that's probably the one I've used least of all, possibly. Anyway, that's what I'm using. So first thing we need to do is do our stamping so that I can show you that sort of technique. So you're going to want a bit of basic white cardstock, and it's a photopolymer stamp set, so pop your Stampin' Pierce mat on there as well. So I'm going to do the same colourway as I did before. So I'm stamping my flowers in Crushed Curry. So now if you wanted to colour those, you could obviously use your blender pen to do a bit of colouring, which I haven't done on the previous one, but obviously all you need to do is blender pen, bit of ink on a non-porous surface, and then you can just go in and just add a little bit of colour to those. You will find that you can pick up some of the colour from the flowers themselves as well, so you don't need very much because of it's obviously soluble, but you can just get a bit more on those if you want to. So you can colour those flowers. So now I've started, it's like I'm going to have to finish that off now, aren't I? You lose a little, I say not going to lose definition as such, but just be careful that you don't go over it. I've possibly been a little bit heavy-handed on that one there. So just leave a little bit of white on there as well. So that's our, those are our flowers. I have cut some of these ahead of time, just so you don't watch me doing these twice over. You then want to do our lovely tulips. I love these tulips, they're so pretty. Magenta Madness, and just pop those on like so. My Just Jade is my leaves. So this is how I sort of did mine. Just jade leaves in there as well, leaving a little bit of space between them. And then finally I want to do my Wellington boots. The only thing with this card is it isn't one that you can kind of do straight away. You do need a bit of overnight drying time, I find. So Wellington boots as well. So those are all the images. You're going to want 2 of each of these, just one of the wellies. And then pop your dies. Those of you that watch me will know that what I tend to do is I used to use a bit of post-it note tape or a bit of post-it note to just hold those dies in place. Just saves them popping up and moving as you put them through. Because what you don't want to do is for those to overlap. And as you can see, I've just left enough space there for those. Hints and tips, I line up the stems usually so that that keeps it in place. And again, just make sure that you've kind of got an even gap on each of these. And then just pop that through whatever die cutting machine. These dies will fit in the mini cut and emboss, which is on offer at the moment, 20% off. Really great offer with some fabulous bundles. So if you don't have one, I would recommend now's the time to have a look at it. A really good way to get a die cutting machine that you can actually take with you as well. So if you go in a caravan or a camper van and you like to do a bit of crafting on the move, then this will work really well. So there we go, just slide those off. And I've got my images. And something I don't show very, just a reminder, what I do is I get a piece of magnetic sheet, just buy them in a pack, and I cut to size and pop a piece on the inside of my stamp set, and that way I can pop the dies in there. And as you can see, I also draw around them with our standard chalk marker, and that way I can always see that I've put all my dies away, and because otherwise I lose them. It's quite simple. So just pop those out. Oh, that's unusual, that one hasn't actually popped out. Anyway, you've got your images. So once you've got those, we can get on with our technique. So this is for our Wellington boots. And what you're going to need is your fine tip glue. So this is a great way to add a bit of interest. And all I'm going to do is just use my fine tip glue. And first of all, I go around the outside of my image, like so. And I do the boots kind of separately, just so there's a tiny bit of a gap. And this almost kind of creates like an outline, a bit of a barrier, to try and keep it all beautifully in place. Okay. So hopefully you can see that. And then all you do is just squeeze gently and kind of colour in with the fine tip glue. And I sort of go over, you don't want it to sort of puddle too much, but you just go over all of it. And then I move on to the next bit, because these are quite a big image. And that allows the stuff, the fine tip glue to spread slightly. And then you can kind of come back in once it's spread and just fill in the gaps. I find if you sort of do it all in one go, you end up with it being very wet. Whereas this, by sort of kind of doing it in pieces, it's just, I say, just enables it to sort of spread. You use less glue and you get a more even layer. So again, just coming back in. Hopefully you can sort of see. Now, I say you don't have to get it all the way over. You could just leave it sort of textured if you want to, but I want that sort of even layer all over the top. And then you just sort of come in and just wriggle it about with the tip. It's not actually putting any more on there, but it's just kind of allowing it to spread. And what I do is I just have a look and see where there's any little dimples in it. And just sort of brush over. And then to put these away, some people struggle with these. This is how I find is the easiest to pop the pin back in. Put the fine tip on the end of your finger and kind of line it up like that, and then pop that in. And I've never had a problem with it gunging up. So now you need to put that to one side. I put them to one side overnight, I'll be quite honest with you. And then when you come back, you get this lovely glossy image here, like so. There you go. Hopefully, did you get the shine? There we go. Okay. So as you can see, there's a little bit of texture on there. I could have gone in and added a bit more. But as you can see, the colour kind of absorbs and moves. So you get a really nice sort of... It does lose a bit of definition, but I think that's rather nice. I think you end up with some really super cute boots. Okay, now let's make our card then. So there's our image. So card base, really easy. Obviously, it's a standard card base. So for me, that's 29 by 10.5 centimetres. There, which we're going to score in half. Actually, is it 29? Good question. I think it might actually be 28. Yes, it is. Yeah. So I did lie. It's 28 centimetres. Okay. And this is because of the diagonals. It just works a little bit better. So score at 14, like so. And that's our standard card base. We then want our Misty Moonlight for the middle. This is 20 by 7 centimetres, scored in half at 10 centimetres. You want 2 pieces of basic white at 6.5 by 9.5. So 2 of those. I'm then going to want a piece of basic white that is 14 by 10.5. Check that, and we're going to cut that in half diagonally because that's going to go on the inside of our card. So just in half, like so. And then we want to take a piece of our in colour DSP. So again, 10.5 by 14 centimetres. I'm going to cut that in half diagonally, and that's going to do the front and the back of the inside of our card. So, particularly with DSP, I always start cutting in the middle as well. So, there we have our card pieces. So let's get constructing. Okay. Reinforce with our bone folder our cards, because these are flaps, you want them to lie nice and flat. Okay, and this is quite simple. You could stamp these if you wanted to. I'm just going to layer these up. One on the inside. And another one on the front. This actually would be perfect to use that little seed packet image actually. You could add a little accent with that. The front of our card, oh yes, need my trimmer back, because you're going to cut diagonally across the front there. So from your score mark to this bottom point. So there we go. So now we want to add our DSP. I didn't use this one at first, and I'd forgotten actually, because the diagonals are not kind of at 45 degrees. It's obviously you're cutting it across at a bit of an odd angle. So I'm just lining that up on my card base and just making sure, by using my Tombow, this is making it much easier for me, because it means I've just got that little bit of wiggle and coming right into the points there to get that lined up as well. You obviously, if you're precise, you can use whatever, you can use a glue roller, tape roller, one of our Stampin' Seal. Seal is all you need for this, you don't need Seal Plus. Okay. And again, we're going to add our and our basic white. If you wanted to, you could use a basic white back card base as well. That's another way of doing this. I just rather like the kind of that green. I'm just lining that up like so. Make sure it's covered. Yeah. And then to create our joy fold, one of the really lovely, easy folds to do, you just want your glue on the back half of that, and then you're going to centre that. So just make sure that it's not fouling on this bottom corner. And now we can start our decoration. So a nice straightforward one. I'm taking my 2 tulips and just trimming off that bottom piece. And those are going to go flat straight on here. Now what you do need to make sure is that this doesn't go over the edge of the Misty Moonlight piece. I accidentally did mine, and obviously it fouls when you open it up, and you end up with a little bent bit on the front of your card, which you don't want. But what you can do is have this one over the edge if you want to. Then we can add our boots, and I'm just going to pop that up on some dimensionals. It's a larger one, so let's pop our boots. Don't want to go right down to the bottom. As I said, I've just let this sit overnight, and again you can bend that slightly. It's quite flexible with the fine tip glue. It doesn't sort of crack the way some other brands used to. So pop my boots there. What you want to do is just sit them off the bottom slightly, because you want to have space for those flowers to go on the top. So again, with these, I'm going to use my mini dimensionals on that bottom edge. Got them up slightly from the bottom. There we go. And then you can pop some more behind, just to kind of add just a little bit of interest to our inner panel. So that top corner there. But you just want those to be glued flat, because you don't want that to add any more depth. Like so. You see? And then all that remains is to add our flowers in. And you can obviously, what I should have done is probably put those in first. Let's have a look. So I can cut this one and pop that on. Actually, I'll pop that one as well. And these ones I'm just going to again pop on a couple of dimensionals. And just making sure that that doesn't overhang on the edge. Just fine, you should be able to lift that up very slightly. And just pop those underneath the edge of my boots. Downside of dimensionals, very sticky, so they've stuck straight away. Of course they have. Right, there we go. So, after that faffing about, there we have our our card, and all that's left is for me to add a sentiment in. So pop along to my blog at flutterbyheidi.co.uk. Click on the links below, and you'll find the links to all the other challenges on the Inspire Create Challenges blog, and you'll see lots of other ideas to use these colours. Thanks for watching. Bye now.